Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen a shadow move when nothing else did? Not just flicker from a flame or stretch in the twilight, but truly move. Like it had its own will, its own breath, its own memory. In a small, forgotten village at the edge of the Masego forest, there lived a girl whose dancing made the shadows rise. Some came with warmth and wisdom. Others came with teeth. This is her story. A story of rhythm, spirits, betrayal, and a dance that defied life and death. Listen closely. Because the shadows, they still remember her name. Masego, in the heart of the old lands, between the whispering trees and the winding red rivers. There lay a village called Kalu Ma. It was not drawn on any map. No trader passed through it. No messenger left it. The people of Kaluma believed in balance between man and nature, between the living and the dead. They built homes of woven thatch and smooth mud walls, gathered at dusk to share stories, and bowed their heads before the ancestors when the drums echoed across the hills. But there was one thing they did not do. One thing they feared more than famine, more than snakes, more than even war. They did not dance at night. The elders spoke of an ancient rhythm, older than fire, a rhythm that could wake the unseen. They said the spirits were always watching, always listening. And if you danced with real passion beneath the moonlight, they would come. Not all spirits, you see, are kind. Not all shadows can be trusted, and so the night dance was forbidden. The last one who danced, disappeared. That is, till Masego came. Masego was born on the coldest night of the year. Her mother, Thando, had screamed through the labor as thunder rolled above, and the winds thrashed against the hut like angry fists. No midwife could make it through the storm, so her father, Becca, caught her himself this strange, silent baby with eyes too wide for her face. When she cried, it was not a wail but a sound like humming. A strange little melody, soft and strange. Almost rhythmic from the moment she could walk. Masego moved like water. She didn't toddle or stumble like the other children. No, she flowed. Arms swaying, feet light on the ground, head tilted to some secret song only she could hear. Her mother scolded her often. "You mustn't dance at night, Masego," Thando would warn, pulling her away from the fire. The ancestors? Sleep, you do not wake them for play. But Masego didn't mean to disobey. She didn't even know she was dancing half the time. Her body simply responded to wind, to birdsong, to silence. She was the kind of child who made flowers bloom early, who made goats pause in the fields to listen when she tapped her feet on stone. The villagers called her the wind's daughter, sometimes with fondness, and sometimes with fear. One night, when Masego was 9, she followed the sound of flutes into the woods. Except there were no flutes, just the rustle of leaves, the chirping of insects, and the steady, silent beat of her own heartbeat. She came to a clearing she'd never seen before, circular, ringed with tall baobab trees. In the center, a smooth stone, like a stage placed by the gods. Moonlight spilled into the clearing like silver paint, and something inside her stirred. She stepped forward, barefoot on the cool earth, raised her arms, closed her eyes, and danced, not with practice, not with form, but with surrender. The wind caught her skirt. Her breath grew rhythmic, her heartbeat became a drum, and as her foot brushed the earth in a spin, something answered. A hush fell. The wind died. She opened her eyes, then there they were, shadows, not hers. Not from the moonlight. They flickered at the edge of the trees, pale and tall and flickering like candlelight dot. And then a voice. "You dance with truth, child. That is rare." She spun, startled. There, standing at the edge of the circle, was an old woman in a shawl of blue smoke. Her eyes were silver. Her feet floated above the ground, hair moved, though there was. No wind. Masego should have screamed, but she didn't. Somehow, she felt safe. "Who are you?" Masego whispered. "I am Naya," said the spirit. "Once a midwife, once a dreamer. Now, only a whisper. Why are you here?" "Because you called us." And just like that, Masego realized the shadows weren't just watching, they were listening. Grandmother Naya sat with her at the edge of the clearing. They spoke until the moon touched the treetops. "Many fear the dance," Naya said. "But dance is life. It is memory. It is power." "My mother says not to dance at night," Masego whispered. "Your mother is wise. Not all who come from the dark are friends." "Then why did you come?" "'Cause your soul sings with light, and we remember light." Before Naya vanished, she placed her hand on Masego's chest. "Have a gift. But beware, every step you take, awaken something. You must choose what to awaken, and when, because once the rhythm begins, must be finished." And with a soft sigh, she vanished into mist. Masego walked home in silence. But her heart had changed. She had felt the presence of the unseen, and they had felt her. The next morning, Masego did not speak of the clearing, or the shadows, or the silver-eyed woman. But every night, when her parents were asleep, she returned. And every night, more shadows came. Some were like Naya, gentle, glowing, wise. Others were twisted, crawling, whispering things that turned her stomach cold. She danced for the kind ones, and fled from the others. But as the months passed, her power grew. She could now feel the spirits in her waking hours. She began healing injured birds with a touch, calming sick children by simply humming and laying her hands on their heads. The villagers noticed. Some praised her, others whispered that she was touched. Still, Masego remained kind, humble, quiet. But in her dreams, the shadows grew restless. One name began to rise from the whispers. Tufa. Oh, she did not know what it meant, but every time she danced, she felt him draw closer. Asterisk, asterisk. As Masego grew, so did her presence. It wasn't just the way she moved, anymore it was the silence that followed her. The strange weight in the air when she stood still. The way dogs tilted their heads and babies stopped crying when she passed. Some called her blessed. Others called her cursed. But no one understood her. Not really. Her father, Becca, thought she was simply ... peculiar. He watched her closely when she danced by the river, when she tapped her fingers against the walls, when she sat alone, humming songs no one else had taught her. Her mother, Thando, prayed harder each night. She left offerings at the ancestor shrine and asked the old spirits to protect her daughter, or perhaps to forgive her. Forgive her for what Masego didn't know. One morning, a terrible cough swept through the village. It took down the strong, and the young, and no medicine seemed to work. Masego, only 11, walked into the hut of a dying child. Her name was Zola, barely 6 years old, limp with fever. The healer tried to stop Masego. "This is not a child's place," she said. "You cannot help." But Masego just looked at her. And then she began to move. Slowly at first, a sway of her hips, lift of her arms. She hummed that rhythm, the one that came from the trees, the soil, the stars, the rhythm that made shadows stretch and tremble. As she danced, the air thickened. The shadows in the corners pulled closer. And then, from the flicker of the candle, a soft light formed a gentle shadow. With wide eyes and a mother's hands, it placed its palm on the child's forehead, and Zola breathed deep, her cough breaking. By morning, she was well. The villagers watched in stunned silence. Some cheered, others whispered, "She's not just a girl anymore," someone muttered. "She's a spirit caller." Masego didn't smile at their praise or flinch at their fear. She just walked home barefoot, her feet dusted with ash and leaf. And the wind followed her like a cloak. That night, Grandmother Naya came again. You should not have shown them. She warned, they were dying, Masego said. And now they are watching. Not all who watch do so with love. Masego looked at her hands. I didn't mean to call the spirit. It just happened. Naya nodded. The gift is growing. The treaty-esque dance is deepening. But the deeper you go, the darker the shadows. Then her tone changed. Do you feel it? Feel what? The one who stirs. Masego hesitated. Okufa. Naya's silver eyes dimmed slightly. That name should not be spoken lightly. He is not like the others. Who is he? He was once a man, a dancer, a warrior. But he tried to bind the spirits, to make them obey his will. He betrayed the dance, and so he was cursed. Is he coming? She just vanished into smoke. Over the next few weeks, the village changed. They began coming to Masego in secret tasking for blessings, for help, for signs. A woman whose husband had vanished asked her to dance for visions. A man whose crops had died asked her to summon a rain spirit. At first, she refused. But their eyes full of pain and hope wore her down. And so she danced, each time the shadows gathered. And each time, a spirit answered, sometimes small things. A whisper of where lost goats had wandered. A breeze that cooled a fever. But the more she gave, the more they wanted. And the more she danced, the stronger the pull became. The nights were no longer hers. The shadows lingered even after sunrise. Some clung to her feet. Others whispered in her dreams. And in those dreams, he began to appear tall, wrapped in smoke. Eyes like burning coals, he never spoke, just watched, waiting. One night, while dancing in the clearing, the earth trembled beneath her feet. Not much, just a breath, but enough to send a shock through her bones. And then the wind spoke not in Naya's soft tone, but in a jagged, cold rasp. Mine. Masego fell to her knees. The next morning, her mother was gone. Thando had gone to fetch water before sunrise and never returned. The villagers searched. They found her bucket by the stream. Her footprints stopped at the water's edge. No struggle. No trail, just vanished. Masego stood at the bank for hours, her fingers clenched. She had felt it, her presence in the forest. Watching, waiting, she danced that night, not to call spirits, but to beg answers. Only Naya came. She is not dead, Naya said. Then, where is she between? Bring her back. I cannot. Only you can. Tell me how, but Naya only shook her head. To bring back one soul, you must face another, and his name is Okufa. That night, as the village slept, Masego walked to the ancestor's shrine. She lit no flame. She spoke no prayer. She simply danced, and the shadows erupted. Faces formed in the mist, some kind. Some weeping, some with mouths full of teeth. The air became a tunnel of wind and ash. And at the center, a figure emerged. Okufa. He did not float like the others. He stomped. Every step cracked the soil. His body was tall and broken, wrapped in tattered robes. A crown of bones sat crooked on his head, and when he opened his mouth, hundreds of voices screamed at once. Masego held her ground. You took my mother, she said. He tilted his head. You danced, he said, and I awoke. The price is always paid. Take me instead. He stepped closer. You do not know what you offer. The dance is not a game. It is pact, it is prison, it is power. Then teach me. He laughed a sound that shook the shrine. You wish to learn from me? Then you must fall first. And with a wave of his hand, the shadows consumed her. She awoke the next morning in the forest, bruised, And cold, her body ached. Her breath burned, and her gift felt altered. Now, even her reflection flickered when she moved. Now, the animals no longer came near. Now, the shadows followed her without being summoned. When she returned to the village, the people stepped back. Children hid behind huts. The elders gathered the headman. Old Tamba raised his staff. "You have brought something terrible upon us, child." "I've done only what you begged me to do," Masego said. "And now the forest is waking. Our dreams are poisoned. A child went missing last night. Your mother is gone. A dance is no longer your gift, it is your curse." And just like that, they cast her out. Her father, heartbroken, could not speak. He simply handed her a satchel of water and roots and turned away. Masego did not cry. She walked into the woods barefoot, and the shadows followed. She wandered for days, eating roots, drinking rain. The spirits did not speak at first, only watched until one night she found herself back in the clearing and Grandmother Naya was waiting. "So it begins," she said. "I want to finish it," Masego replied. "Then you must. Go where few have walked, the place between life and death. The circle of echoes, where is it? Within." And with that, Naya laid a hand on her chest. The world melted and Masego fell. Down, down, into the roots of the world. Asterisk, asterisk, there is a place where no path leads, where no birds sing, where time does not pass but pulses. This place is not found on any map, nor whispered about by the old ones. It exists between heartbeats, between breaths, a hidden layer of the world stitched beneath the skin of reality. This as the circle of echoes. Masego awoke there. She felt no hunger, no thirst, only weightlessness. Her body felt like vapor. Her heart beat a distant drum. The ground was soft beneath her feet, not soil, not stone. Something in between. Around her were shadows not terrifying, not kind, neutral, watchful. Waiting, a great tree stood in the center of the realm, towering, twisted, covered in runes that shimmered and whispered in forgotten tongues. From its branches hung masks, hundreds of them, some smiling, some weeping, some cracked and scorched. As Masego stepped forward, a single mask fell from the tree. It hovered before her face, white with gold lines, shaped like a dancer's expression, frozen mid-spin. She reached out the moment her fingers touched it. The realm shifted. Suddenly, she was in another place, a memory. But not hers, a battlefield. Spears scattered across red soil, smoke curling from huts. Warriors running, screaming, dying, and at the center, Kufa, but not the monster, a man, strong, graceful, beautiful. His feet moved like thunder on the ground. He danced across the field, each motion striking enemies down without touch. His rhythm was divine, but his eyes, they held hunger, a dangerous hunger. The crowd worshipped him, called him the Rhythm King. But Masego saw deeper. He was not dancing for joy, not for healing, not even for protection. He danced for control, to bind the spirits, to force them into servitude. And the spirits resisted in a flash. The vision darkened. The battlefield became a graveyard. The tree from the circle stood young and weeping. Okufa screamed, clutching at the air. And then he was swallowed by shadow. Masego gasped, stumbling back. The vision faded. Asterisk's grandmother Naya stood beside her once more, her silver eyes soft. "Now you see. He wasn't always evil," Masego whispered. "No, but power taken without balance becomes rot. Can he be stopped? Only if you remember who you are." Masego frowned. "What do you mean?" Naya reached up and touched her forehead, And then the truth spilled forth. A new vision surged through Masego, her mother. As a child, standing in this very circle, dancing, laughing, another figure appeared, young, handsome, intense, asterisk, asterisk. Okufa, but different, softer. Before he fell, he reached for Thando's hand. She took it. They danced. The rhythm was wild, beautiful, dangerous, and then Thando fled. Fear in her eyes, pregnant Masego fell to her knees. "No," she whispered. "Yes," Naya said gently. "You are his daughter, born of rhythm and rebellion. Why didn't she tell me?" "To protect you. From him, from the truth. So I'm cursed, too." "No," Naya said. "You are the balance, the bridge. You carry both his rhythm, ... and her mercy." Masego stood, shaking. "Then I must finish what he started, but not for power, for peace." The ground began to rumble. The circle of echoes trembled from the great tree. Another mask fell, black and gold, marked with fire symbols. It hovered. "You take it," Naya said. "You accept your path. You will face him. Alone, I'm not afraid. You should be. But that makes you brave." Masego took the mask. The realm shattered. She awoke in the clearing. Gasping, it was night. The moon was full. And Okufa was waiting. He stood tall, towering like smoke made solid. The crown of bone. The robes of ash. The eyes burning. "So you return," he said. "I know what you were," she answered. "Then you know what I can be again. Not through me, but you carry my blood. The rhythm answers you. We are the same." "No," she said, stepping into the moonlight. "I don't dance to control. I dance to awaken, to connect, then dance." He spread his arms. "If you defeat me, the spirits will follow you. And if I don't, you will become like me, a shadow of hunger." The trees bent back. The wind howled, and the circle formed again. Masego stepped into it. The dance began. She moved first soft, deliberate, grounded. She called on the light. Okufa responded sharp, violent, pulsing. He called on fear. Spirits gathered at the edges, watching, whispering, each motion echoed like thunder. Each turn bent the air. Masego's feet sparked light. Okufa's tore into the ground. The sky cracked. Then he lunged. A shadow claw swiped toward her chest. She ducked, spun, swept her leg wide. The spirits gasped. He struck again, faster. This was no longer dance. This was war. But Masego did not falter. She changed her rhythm. She closed her eyes, and she remembered her mother's lullabies, her father's laughter, grandmother Naya's lessons, Zola's breath returning, the spirits who smiled, the ones who healed, the ones who forgave. She danced for them, and light erupted from her feet. The shadows reeled. Okufa screamed. His mask cracked. "No," he shouted. "I am the first rhythm, the deepest beat. You are the silence," Masego whispered. "And now it ends." She stepped into a final spin, a spiral of memory, a tornado of light. The circle lit like dawn, and when she opened her Azokafa, was gone. Not destroyed, but dissolved. Returned to the rhythm, the balance, Masego. Collapsed to her knees, the spirits bowed, and from the mist, her mother emerged, whole, smiling. Tears in her eyes. "You found me," Thando said. "No," Masego whispered. "I finally remembered who I am." Asterisk, asterisk, Masego stepped out of the forest barefoot. The light behind her was different, now brighter, cleaner. The shadows still followed her, but they were no longer hungry. They moved in rhythm with her. A quiet rhythm, pulsing like a heartbeat. She had spent 3 days in the spirit realm. 3 days that felt like lifetimes. when she reached the edge of Kaluma. The wind stopped. The birds fell silent. Children peeked from behind walls. Dogs whimpered and turned away. The elders stood in a half circle near the fire pit, their faces a mix of awe and suspicion. Her father was there. His beard had grown. His eyes looked older, but when he truly saw her, he fell to his knees. "Masego," he whispered. "You've returned?" She nodded. "And so has Mother." Thando stepped into the clearing behind her, whole and breathing. The villagers gasped. Some wept. Others backed away in fear. Old Tamba stepped forward. "What? What are you now?" Masego looked at him calmly. "I am still your daughter. Still Kaluma's, but I have walked where no one walks. I have danced where light does not reach. I have seen the truth." "What truth?" "That fear will consume us faster than any spirit ever could. And the one called Okufa, he has returned to silence. Not by destruction, by release." Some stared in wonder. Others trembled. "You expect us to trust you?" Someone shouted. "You bring spirits in your wake. You're not one of us anymore." Masego raised her hand. The shadows beside her stilled. She stepped forward. "Then let me earn it. Let me show you what the rhythm truly is." She walked to the center of the village and placed her feet on the same spot where she first danced, as a child. And then, she moved not with power, not with command, with peace. She danced not to summon, but to invite. Not to control, but to connect. The ground didn't tremble, it breathed. The trees bowed slightly. The leaves stirred in slow applause, and one by one, shadows appeared not monstrous, but familiar. Faces of ancestors, past villagers, lost children, loved elders. They circled Masego and the villagers. No threats, no words, only presence. A woman. In the crowd, dropped to her knees. "That's my grandmother." She wept. "She passed 5 winters ago." A man gasped. "That's my son. He drowned in the floods." They weren't being haunted. They were being held, reconnected one. By one, the villagers stepped into the circle. They danced, awkward at first. Then free. Some cried. Others laughed. Children clapped. Even the elders moved their stiff joints in rhythm. Old Tamba watched. His eyes welled with tears. "I was wrong," he whispered. "We feared what we should have embraced." Later that night, as fires burned and drums played gently, Masego sat beneath the great baobab tree. Her mother leaned against her. Her father nearby and grandmother Naya sat across from her. Only Masego could see her now. "You did well," Naya said. "Is it over?" Naya shook her head. "It never is. Balance is a dance, child, not a destination. What happens now? Now you lead, but not as a priestess, not as a savior. As a keeper of rhythm, a weaver of shadow, a girl who remembers. Will I ever see you again?" Naya smiled. "You carry me in every step." And then she faded. Months passed, Kaluma changed. Fear gave way to curiosity. Suspicion gave way to celebration. Masego became something new, not a shaman, not a leader, not a myth, a storyteller. A teacher. She taught the children the rhythms of the wind. She taught the elders how to breathe in silence. She taught the people that shadows do not mean evil. They mean presence. She planted a circle of stones outside the village, a space for remembering, for dancing, for honoring the in-between. She called it the spiral. And on the night of the full moon, the villagers gathered there to dance, not just to celebrate, but to feel connected to those who came before. And each time Masego danced, a flicker of Naya's silver eyes could be seen. A ripple in the tree leaves, a pulse in the earth. But not all stories end with peace. One dusk, as the sun bled red and the shadows lengthened, Masego felt a tremor beneath her feet. Soft, subtle, but old, ancient. She stood still, listened. From the edges of the forest, a figure stepped forward. Not Okufa, not a spirit, a child. Eyes black as ink, feet scarred. A mouth that did not smile. He said nothing. But Masego understood. Some rhythms never die, only sleep. And as she reached out her hand to him, the story continued. Asterisk, asterisk. The sky stretched wide and golden as Masego stood at the edge of Kaluma. She wore a satchel woven with shadow thread and sun feathers. Her Masega gift from the circle of echoes rested across her back, silent and waiting. The village gathered behind her, silent and watchful. Zola was now the circle keeper. Her father had taken up his carving tools again. Her mother led lullaby dances at dusk, and Masego was leaving? Why now? Zola asked softly. Because the rhythm didn't begin in Kaluma, Masego replied. And it doesn't end here. Will you return? Masego smiled. Only if the rhythm brings me back. With that, she stepped onto the red road. She traveled for weeks. Through dry lands and river valleys, mountain spines and whispering groves at each village. Word had already reached ahead of her. The girl who dances with shadows. Some called her a savior. Others called her a witch. She never corrected either. She danced when the sick were lost. She danced when drought threatened. She danced for births, for burials, for forgotten names. Each time spirits came gentle, curious. Shy, the people began to believe again, not in superstition, but in connection. But something troubled her. The shadows were changing, flickering. Trembling, she could feel a pressure rising in the space between worlds, a hum just beneath a rhythm. And then came the vision. It struck her one night, beneath an unfamiliar sky. She saw a land with sand-like white bone. A temple swallowed by time, and inside it, a drum. Massive cracked, still beating, it called to her. The first rhythm, asterisk, asterisk, she followed it, across deserts. Through heat that burned the soles of her feet. Through ruins where time slept and ghosts wandered. In silence, finally, she found it. A forgotten temple carved into the belly of a cliff. Its doors sealed with vine and stone. As she approached, her mask trembled. You feel it too, she whispered, Dot with a breath. She danced, slow, precise. Measured, the door listened. It opened. Inside, silence, thick. Alive carvings lined the walls of dancers with wings, of shadows embracing light, of a tree with 12 roots and no leaves. At the center stood the drum, 7 feet tall, covered in gold dust. Its skin made from something not quite of this world. She touched it, and the rhythm exploded. Asterisk, asterisk. She saw everything. Before Kaluma, before Okufa, before Naya, before language. There were dancers, not human, not spirit, rhythm-born. They did not speak. They moved. Each step shaped reality. Each beat carved seasons. They danced the first rivers into being, the first winds, the first deaths. But over time, they vanished, or became mortal, bound by time, by fear. The rhythm had always been here, buried, waiting for one who could remember. And in the vision, Masego saw them, 12 dancers, masked, ageless, watching her, judging her, and then they bowed. The vision ended. She collapsed to her knees. I am not enough, she whispered. No one is alone, came a voice, a real voice. Masego turned. The child from the forest stood there, older, now not threatening, still silent, but not empty. He reached for her hand. She took it, and together, they danced. The drum pulsed, not a sound, a presence, and from the corners of the temple, spirits began to appear. Thousands, some familiar, some forgotten. Some from lands Masego had never known. They surrounded the dancers, and then they joined not to fight, to remember, and the temple trembled. A spiral of dust rose into the sky. The first rhythm had returned. When Masego emerged from the temple, the sun was rising. The boy, now no longer just a boy, stood beside her. His eyes glowed with light and dark at once. "What's your name?" she asked. "We had no words," he replied. "But the world called me Ishano. What were you before?" "Before memory, rhythm, now a dancer, like you." Together, they began walking. The drum's echo followed them, not behind, within, back in Kaluma. The wind stirred strangely. Children woke with dreams of gold-skinned dancers. The elders lit fires that wouldn't burn out. The baobab whispered names, long unspoken dots. Zola stood at the edge of the spiral, watching the stars. She smiled. "She's coming home." Asterisk, asterisk, they called it Enkori, a city built from stone and iron. High walls, no windows. Towers shaped like spears. The streets echoed with the sound of machines and boots, not birds or song. And in Enkori, no one danced, not for joy, not for sorrow, not even in secret. When Masego and Ishano entered its gates, they felt it immediately. Silence, not peace, but suppression. The rhythm had been crushed beneath weight and rule. Masego looked to the sky, no birds. To the trees, none remained. Even the wind avoided Enkor. "This place," Ishano whispered. "It is broken." "No," Masego said. "It has forgotten." They were met at the gates by guards with bronze masks and long staves. Behind them, a woman in robes of crimson stepped forward. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. "You are the dancer," she said flatly, "and you bring the boy." "My name is Masego," she replied calmly. "This is Ishano. In Enkor, we do not name what is unknown. We classify it. And what are we? A disturbance." She motioned, and the guards surrounded them, but made no move to attack. "The Council of Function welcomes you to Angkor. You may speak, you may walk, but you may not dance. Why? Because we have seen what dance brings. Uprisings, spirits, chaos. We believe in order." Masego raised an eyebrow. "Do you also believe in lies?" Despite warnings, the two were allowed entry. They moved through streets of gray and black, where people hurried but never touched. Children played with metal toys. No songs, no stories. Shadows didn't move here. They clung to the walls like prisoners. "They've built a city of forgetting," Ishano said. "But forgetting doesn't erase what once was." Masego nodded. "And somewhere, I feel it. Something old, something wounded." That night, they visited the heart of the city, the engine spire. A massive pillar of iron that pulsed faintly underground. There, spirit. Trapped, twisted, once beautiful. Now bound in gears and smoke. It had no face, only a hum, like a forgotten lullaby. "Who did this to you?" Masego asked softly. It didn't answer, but the wall behind it shifted symbols etched in old rhythm script. Ishano read it. "The spirit of movement, caged, engineered. They've taken a part of the first rhythm," Masego said, "and turned it into fuel." They weren't alone. The robed woman returned, but now she wore a mask, a spiral, broken in half. "You shouldn't be here. You're hurting it," Masego said. "We've refined it. You've enslaved it." The woman's voice grew sharp. "Do you know what chaos your kind causes? Spirits devouring crops, children vanishing in woods. Fires started by dancing shadows, only when fear fuels them. No, when freedom fuels them." Her gaze hardened. "We were once like Kaluma, dancing, singing, dying. We chose something better. You chose silence. We chose control. Masego stepped forward. Rhythm isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be shared. And what if? Sharing, it destroys everything. Masego said nothing, because deep inside, she knew it could. That night, she and Ashano sat atop a rooftop, staring over Enkur. The stars were dim. The people restless. Ashano spoke quietly. Some rhythms, resist, harmony. We have to set it free, Masego whispered. The spirit. The rhythm here, if we do, they'll turn against us. Then we'll dance alone. They returned to the engine spire just before dawn. The guards didn't see them. The machines groaned quietly. Masego stepped before. The imprisoned spirit, it flickered at her presence. A ripple of memory stirred. She danced. No music, only motion. Ashano joined her. A counterstep. A spiral, the spirit pulsed. Chains groaned. Somewhere in the city, lights flickered. Bells rang. Sirens cried. The council was watching. Too late, the drumbeat returned. Not loud, but deep. And the spirit screamed not in pain. In release, its form cracked, shifted, became wind. It swept through Inkori, through alleys, through towers, through every still room and silent heart, and in its wake. Children began to hum. Old women swayed on their porches. A shopkeeper tapped her foot without knowing why. But the council did not celebrate. They declared war. Asterisk war came not with fire, but with silence. The council of function moved quickly. With order, with precision, they passed the decree of stillness. All dance, all music, all movement beyond functional walking outlawed. The people of Inkori obeyed, but their feet itched. There. Hearts pulsed, they remembered. Whispers of Masego spread like wildfire. She set the spirit free. She dances with the old rhythm. She woke something deep. The council branded her a criminal, a threat to stability, and the machines stirred. Masego and Ashano fled the city. They followed the rhythm back underground through forgotten tunnels. Old drums embedded in stone. Deeper into the belly of the land, they found them there. The dancers, not spirits. Not quite. Human, masked, tall, glowing faintly. They stood in stillness as Masego and Ashano approached. Then, as one, they moved. 12 steps, 12 turns. Each motion whispered a truth. You have disturbed the balance. You have awakened what was meant to rest. And now, it stirs. Masego stepped forward. I wanted only to reconnect us, but reconnection has a cost. She looked to Ashi. No. He avoided her eyes. Later, in the stillness of the undercave, Masego turned to him. You knew. Since when? Since the temple. Why didn't you say anything? He stared at the stone beneath. Then because I didn't want you to stop dancing. He told her the truth. Ashano was not born. He was shaped from leftover rhythm, from forgotten intention, from the last scream of Okufa before he faded. He was the final echo of that twisted hunger. But I chose differently, he said. Chose to follow you? Then why is the rhythm unstable now? He didn't answer, because the truth was clear. The rhythm was fracturing, not because of Masego, because too many pieces were being forced together. Inkori's machines, Kaluma's dreams, the spirits returning too quickly. Reality itself was bending. The dancers, those 12 masked guardians, gave Masego a task. Not war, not destruction. Containment. You must seal the spiral once more, told her, before it consumes all. But we've only just freed it. Rhythm is not the enemy. Timing is. The world is not ready. Masego struggled to breathe. Seal the rhythm. Hide it again. How could she do that? How could she choose silence? Again, above Encore, marched on metal wagons. Silent soldiers, drones shaped like birds without song. The council had declared Operation Dampen. They want to erase our village, Zola said, reading the spy reports. Not enslave it. Erase it. The villagers did not run. They danced, not for war, for memory, for unity. Masego returned just before the first machine crossed the threshold. Her mask glowed, her hands did not shake. She stepped forward. The earth responded, not to destroy, but to speak. The ground split, not in violence, but in invitation. From the fissures came light. Shadows twined with sun. The rhythm pulsed, the machines trembled and stopped. The soldiers clutched their ears. Some dropped their weapons, others began to hum without meaning to. The council's lead commander screamed, "Stop them, mute them." But no one could stop what had already begun. Ishano stepped beside Masego. "It's too late now." "No," she whispered. "It's just in time." But then he turned to her, and his face changed. Something ripped inside him. His skin pulsed darkness, surging beneath like oil, the last shard of Okufit, wisting, emerging. "I can't hold it," he gasped. Masego ran to him. "You are not him, but I was born of him, and I named you." He looked at her. "Then finish it." "What?" "Seal the spiral. Seal me with it." The final dance began. Not joyous, not wild, but sacred. Masego danced not to summon, but to let go. The shadows swirled. Gentle, the earth sighed. I stone no, stood at the center, smiling as her steps slowed. He faded peacefully. Not into nothing, into rhythm, the spiral sealed with light and dark braided together. A perfect silence. Then a heartbeat. Then the people clapped not in frenzy. In gratitude, the council collapsed. The machines rusted. The people of Encore emerged. Blinking, they began to build again with iron. With song, back in Kaluma, Masego sat beneath the baobab tree, alone. But never. Truly, Naya's eyes winked from a spider's web Zola brought. Her tea. The children danced at dusk, and when the wind blew through the spiral, it whispered, "Balance." Asterisk, asterisk, months passed, then years, and still. They danced. The world had changed, not all at once. Not everywhere, but enough. The villages of the Riverlands began to hold echo festivals, where no voices spoke, only bodies moved. Encore rebuilt itself. Machines were no longer powered by captive spirits, but by wind and rhythm. Their leaders no longer ruled by decree, but by listening circles. Even distant coastal cities began to hum again. Masego did not dance for crowds. Anymore she watched, she taught, she remembered. One morning, a child came to her, barefoot, bright-eyed, covered in chalk symbols. She did not speak. She danced, and the shadows followed. Not in menace, in play, Masego smiled. The child bowed and disappeared into the trees. Zola sat beside her, older now, wiser. They say the new ones are even stronger than us. They're not stronger, Masego said. They're ready. But there was something stirring in her. A pull. Not from the world, from the rhythm itself. It called to her. Not like before when it begged to be released. Now it invited her back into its pulse, its silence, its story. You've done what no one else could, Zola told her one night, eyes glistening. You've danced both life and death. But the rhythm keeps going, Masego whispered. Then maybe. So should you. She returned to the spiral. One last time, alone, the baobab still stood. Its bark lined with glowing runes, the touch of spirit and memory. She removed her mask and placed it at the base of the tree. Let someone else find you when it's time. She danced not to summon, not to fight, but to say goodbye, and as her body turned, step by step, the air thickened. Shadows curled around her, soft as silk. From the light, Ishano stepped forward, not as a boy, not as Okufa, but as rhythm incarnate. "You're ready," he said, "to leave, to become." The sky above Kaluma flickered, not with lightning, with memory, faces, names, steps, beats, all the dancers who ever were. Spinning through the stars, Masego stepped into the spirals. Centered. One final breath, and vanished, not into nothing, into everything. Years later, a new generation danced. They did not know her name, but when the shadows bent gently around their feet, when the wind hummed in harmony with their laughter, when the stars pulsed faintly in rhythm, they knew she was there, not watching, dancing, always. And so ends the tale of the girl who danced with shadows. She was born of mystery, raised by memory, guided by rhythm. She changed the world not by force, but by movement. She reminded us that even in silence, there is music. Even in darkness, there is grace. And even in shadows, there can be light. The rhythm lives on, and perhaps so does she. Asterisk. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know where are you watching from. Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.